Hello, and thank you for joining us. This is No Soundbites Allowed, and I am your host, Michael Voss, Dragon of the Southern Tier. I'm happy to be here with you today as we are going to talk on something that's rather important and a very deep and troubling question. It's about race. It's about the elections in America. It's about the far left and the demonizing of candidates. It's a big deal. But let's try and handle this one step at a time. Now, before I get to that, I do want to mention if this is the first time that you are seeing the channel, we welcome you and we thank you for being here with us. We want you to know that we do long-form political commentary, and every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do a live stream with you. We reach out on Facebook, Twitter, DLive, YouTube, and take your chats, your tweets, and your phone calls from anywhere in the world to speak about the issues that are affecting us all. Because we believe in the First Amendment, a right to free speech, no matter where you are in the world. Your government may not agree, the internet overlords may not agree, but we want to hear your voice. So we hope you join us every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for that live stream. In reference to the issue today, you've probably heard by now that on Sunday, and actually for many days, Larry Elder has been getting attacked. You may have heard or seen this article from the LA Times, where the LA Times calls Larry Elder the black face of white supremacy. It's a troubling article. It's a troubling concept. And it's something that has affected people around the world. In fact, you've seen this. This has been covered in England. The British, on the program The Lotus Eaters, featured a segment talking about this very issue. And you have to wonder, why is this happening? Why is Larry Elder being attacked personally, and more specifically based on his race? That doesn't sound like it's the American way. That's not how we pick our candidates. But yet, more and more, and very consistently, we have seen that the left demonize those who break from the foundation or the plantation, as it may be said. Those who decide that they aren't a Democrat, that they're not part of the progressive left movement. For those individuals who may be Republicans and conservatives, like myself, we are demonized. We are called some of the worst things you could possibly imagine. Now, a lot of people are looking at this and they're saying, well, Mike, this is a brand new thing. And yes, Larry Elder has been attacked multiple times in the LA Times because he's the leader in the recall in California to dethrone Gavin Newsom. But I will tell you that it's not a new thing. And this has been going on for a long time. If we take a look over in 2011, GQ had the headline of their article, "Is Herman Cain Crazy?" A GQ interview. Well, that's really interesting. And they go on with the subtitle of, "Believe it or not, presidential candidate Herman Cain has got some momentum." The former Godfather's Pizza CEO sat down with GQ to discuss race, his competition, and, oh yeah, his early 90s gospel album. Now, it's a well-known fact that Herman Cain was a man of faith. But more importantly, let's look at this title. What are we seeing here? Is Herman Cain crazy? How many times have you seen that kind of title? Imagine if there was an article from GQ magazine or Rolling Stone or the New York Times that said, "Is Joe Biden crazy?" back in 2020 when he was running. Is Kamala Harris crazy? You would never see that article. And that article would be demonized just from the title alone. It then goes on to say, believe it or not, you're adding doubt into this article. You're adding doubt into the character of the individual. Believe it or not, presidential candidate Herman Cain has got some momentum. Why is that such a strange thing? Why is that such an incredulous thing that you couldn't believe it? It's the style of what is being said. This is back in 2011, before politics became so hyper-racial, hypersensitive, and very, very explicitly progressive-leaning. But that's just one example. How about in 2017? Obama gets applause, but Carson gets called Uncle Tom. This is from the Spectrum. It was on March 17th of 2017. I want to read that again. Obama gets applause, but Carson gets called Uncle Tom. And what happened? We see that late night critics like Trevor Noah and individuals that included actor Samuel Jackson, Whoopi Goldberg, the entertainment industry's personality Star Jones, Representative Keith Ellison, or then Representative Keith Ellison, all attacked Ben Carson for doing the exact same thing that President Barack Obama did. In fact, Barack Obama did it 11 times. So the very same subject, the very same message, the very same talking points that were being used by Ben Carson were the ones that were used previously by Barack Obama. But when it was done by Barack Obama, Trevor Noah, Whoopi Goldberg, Samuel Jackson, Representative Ellison, none of them had a question. None of them said anything about it. None of them denounced or derided them for that. But Ben Carson can be called an Uncle Tom. That is an insulting statement, a highly insulting statement that there's just no way around that. That's based on race. That's an attack. It is a racial attack, something that we hear from these very same left-leaning progressive individuals that you can't do. Racial politics in America is superheated, and it's supposedly the Democrats, the progressives, the socialists are supposed to be protecting black people. That's their whole mantra, that they stand for black people. Yet when it's a black person who doesn't do exactly what they want to say, they demonize them. And it's something that I've personally gone through myself. And I'd love to show you this from Facebook, from my campaign in 2020. And yes, I had run for a county legislator seat. And I had a video on July 7th of 2020 that directly stated that I was being attacked from the left, from members of Progressive Leaders of Tomorrow, from BLM in the southern tier of New York, because of my race, because I was being called a race traitor and other racial slurs. And I'd love to show you that video, except for some reason, Facebook deleted it. The video was on Facebook. It was something I did live on Facebook to address the racial slurs and the attack. And Facebook, for some reason, has deleted that. It's no longer available for the public. Not that it didn't happen, that they no longer will let you see that. When we think about this and we go back, we see that, as has been reported, and you've probably seen this video, actually, the left-leaning media doesn't really cover it, so you probably haven't, where Nancy Pelosi was at an event. She had a fundraising event, $10,000 a plate. And the majority of individuals there, who are all obviously rather rich, at $10,000 for a plate of boiled chicken and rice, these individuals look exactly like the people that we hear the Democrats and the far left demonize. Rich, white, older, almost entirely. Besides the fact that these are individuals that are not wearing masks, as we hear Democrats demand of us, we see these individuals, and this is even if you've gotten the vaccine, they demand you have to wear a mask if you are outdoors, if you are at an event where there are more than 10 or 20 people, and if you're sitting in close proximity. And yet we see Nancy Pelosi totally ignores that. That's just not what happens, as you can see on the screen. It's an event where you can see no one's wearing a mask. Nancy Pelosi isn't wearing a mask. They don't care. This isn't about your freedom. This isn't about your rights. This is about their power. And that should trouble you. That should make you wonder what's going on. Because it seems over and over again that this is about rules for you, not for them. That Democrats, these high-ranking individuals, can do whatever they wish. They can make up whatever rules to rule your life, to micromanage your life. But they don't have to have those same rules applied to them. And again, this is an old thing. This is not new. If we go back into 2018, we saw that members of the far left, the Democratic fringe, ANTIFA, had gone out, and in 2018, they attacked the Republican Party headquarters in New York City. Racism, violent action. What is too far for the left? That was in 2018, 2 years before we saw the autonomous zones that just covered the United States, where we saw individuals taking the law into their own hands, violating every single city, state, and federal law, holding other members of the city, of their communities, hostage. And we saw this here in my local community as well, going back to 2020, where I had an event, a nonpartisan, the intent of the event was nonpartisan. And we were there simply to back the blue, to support our police who are doing a good job. In the Binghamton region, in the Broome County of New York, Southern Tier region, the police have had an exceptional record. There has not been a single case of police brutality verified by the body cams that police officers wear. That is a standard that should be upheld. It should be applauded. It should be a lesson and a training program for other officers throughout the nation, especially from the progressives and the socialists who demand that our police must be retrained, must be trained to be better able to deal with the public, especially people of color. And yet, in an event where we are celebrating the police who have done what BLM, what Plot, Progressive Leaders of Tomorrow, and Antifa have been advocating for, they decided instead to attack us, to try to silence us, to drown out our voices, because it wasn't the message they were giving. It wasn't them saying it. It wasn't what they wanted to be out there. No, they had a very specific plan. And they had very specific political agendas. And anyone who did not agree with that, well, they're the problem. They're the issue. You kind of hear this stuff now when it comes to critical race theory. If you disagree with critical race theory, if you disagree with intersectionality, if you disagree with the gender identity politics, well, then you're the problem. Only people who don't believe in institutional racism, well, they're the problem. They're promoting it. It is circular logic. You can only say what they want you to say. And if you don't, well, then you're the problem. And if you happen to be a person of color, well, then you are a racial slur. They will use the very same racial slurs they denounce against people of color because they want you to be silent. They want you to be afraid. But let's really think about who are these people? Who are the BLM, Black Lives Matter? Who are the Progressive Leaders of Tomorrow? Who are the Antifas that are leading the wave? These Democratic, progressive socialists. Who are they and what have they done? Because we have to understand, are they really standing up? Are they making the stand for the very best? Well, let's think about it. It was back in 2020, September 6th of 2020, as reported by Insider. Black Lives Matter's protesters were caught on video smashing up a restaurant and intimidating diners, individuals who had nothing to do with their protest. They had a protest, and then they decided to invade businesses, to attack and intimidate individuals. And as we can see in the video, I wish to say it was widely reported, but it wasn't. So there you go. You can hear some of the members of that protest, that riot, as they were attacking individuals, disrupting their lives, intimidating them, which is a crime in New York State. It's called menacing in the second degree. While they were doing that, someone started throwing chairs. These are the individuals of this group. They were prone to violence. Many people were arrested because of that. Not only that incident, but also... See, and that's the same event. That's the same restaurant that I just showed you. We're seeing BLM. They're saying, "Oh, don't throw chairs," but those are the same people who were overturning tables with people's food on it, driving them away from their dinner, destroying glasses, as you can hear, and waving proudly, screaming their name, BLM, Black Lives Matters. These are the people we're talking about. What else do we know about these progressives, these socialists, who would demonize individuals like Larry Elder, that demonized and embarrassed and mocked Herman Cain, who denounced Ben Carson, who called me all kinds of racial slurs in my election? Well, let's think about this. What are they promoting? Well, let's take a look from April 25th of 2021, when I had this conversation, and you may recall it. But in each of these cases, what we see is a commonality. And I want you to understand, if there are less police, these commonalities are going to result in more death. They're going to result in more people being endangered. Okay? And as you can see on your screen, a police officer arrived on the scene. Within 10 seconds, he was confronted with this moment where an assailant, someone is attacking another woman who is undefended and was not provoking. She was standing still, and this other young woman came up and attempted to stab her, as you can see clearly, with a knife, which is attempted murder. That police officer reacted by shooting. There are some who have said, well, he should have tried to de-escalate the situation. Let me ask you, you have literally 2 seconds to save someone. I want to show it to you again. This is a mid-swing. This is taken from a video. So this is live action. Someone is in the moment, moving their arm. And let me ask you, what de-escalation that does not involve a gun or a taser, what's the de-escalation? What would a social worker do? But when I say that there are people in this nation who are saying that this is a natural part of being a child growing up in America, let me be very clear. We have Bree Newsom, who has been highlighted. This is from the National Review. This is her tweet. And I'll show you the tweet. There's her tweet from April 21st. Teenagers have... Oh, sorry. Let me show you this. She says, teenagers have been having fights, including fights involving knives, for eons. We do not need police to address these situations by showing up to help to the scene and using a weapon against one of the teenagers. Y'all need help. I mean that sincerely. Are we as a nation telling our children and the kids who are watching this, the kids who are growing up, we're talking about the kids who are in elementary school, that they are watching this and they are listening to their adults, their leaders, the individuals that they look up to, like LeBron James, and they are saying, yes, it is normal for you to get into a knife fight. So when you have a disagreement, you can use a knife to attack someone, to stab someone, possibly kill that person because of an argument. And the police should not stop you. Anyone who tries to stop you, they are evil, they are wrong, because this is a natural part of your life. Valerie Jarrett, these are blue checks these are recognized individuals of prominence by Twitter and the news media. And Valerie Jarrett, who formerly worked under the Obama administration, this is a prominent individual, a prominent figure in black politics, so to speak. And she's saying that a black teenage girl named Kaya Bryant was killed because a police officer immediately decided to shoot her multiple times in order to break up a knife fight, demand accountability, fight for justice. She is okay with, and I want to be very clear, she is okay and she is supporting the woman in the black, who is Ma'Khia Bryant, stabbing the woman in pink because this is a natural, normal part of life. That's the troubling thing that we see here. This is what the progressives are willing to do. They're willing to tell you that just because of the color of skin that you're born with, it's okay that you have a knife fight. They literally went on record April 25th saying it's okay for black kids to stab each other, that this is a natural part of life. And that if you oppose that, well, then you're obviously a racist. That police are racist for trying to stop. That it's racist to stop someone from being stabbed merely because of the color of their skin. This is what they're willing to promote. This is what they are willing to stand for. And I have to imagine most people don't believe in that. Most people don't agree with that. And what happens when you confront them? Because it's not just what we saw in the April 21st. It's not just the riots that we saw throughout 2020 and continuing to 2021. It's not just the autonomous zones that we have seen for over a year. It's more. Here's Andy Ngo, a New York Times bestseller and member of the press. And here's what he was able to provide. This is about in Portland, where there was an event, yes, by the Proud Boys, doesn't matter, where we see the far left were out and they were protesting that event, which later got to be far more active. But this is what happens when a black woman decided to make a comment.
Hi, my kids were the ones who ANTIFA threw bombs and pepper gas at on August 7th.
The black conservative preacher's wife.
Right. Oh, yeah. So because I'm his wife, my kids don't matter?
No, your kids absolutely matter, and
okay,
I think
so
it's crap that they got hurt. But
can we please tell us why?
Nope, I don't engage with you or your.
Oh, this is classic, guys. Please get this on camera. This is what white liberal women do. They're 1,000 times worse than Karens. Okay? And I want you to pay close attention. The white liberal women will not engage in conversation with me. Why? Because I do not. Oh, because of who my husband is.
Just to be clear.
So I am devalued. So women matter, right? We don't want women to be oppressed. Women matter. But because of who my husband is, I no longer have value. There she goes. There she goes, people.
This is reminiscent of what we're seeing with what they're doing to Larry Elder. They're using the news media and they're attacking him, calling him a white supremacist. Larry Elder, a black man who grew up in LA, and they're denouncing his experience as a black American, denouncing his life and his efforts. No, that doesn't matter. They mocked Herman Cain with their title to try and set a tone of silliness on the fact that he was running in an election for president and was in the lead at the time. How about Ben Carson, who also ran for president, was in the lead at the time. And we saw that the entertainment industry, we saw that many of the news media, they were mocking him. They were attacking him for doing exactly the same thing their ever so beloved Barack Obama did. They delete information so that you can't see it. So that when local, smaller races, individual races, elections where people like myself are running, they delete the information so you can't see that the far left, the socialists, that they're using racial slurs. And when they don't do it, like we see with Andy Nago's video here, we see very seriously when they got confronted. The Antifa, well, I can't call her Antifa, I don't know. When the far left protester says, oh yes, she's fully aware that a woman's children were attacked. They were pepper sprayed. They had objects thrown at them. Children were attacked. And she's perfectly fine with that. She admits that it happened. She says she's sorry, but, they're on the wrong side. They're black kids who don't follow the program. And then when the mother stands up and says, why did you attack my children? Why are you doing this? The woman says, oh, well, it's because of your husband. So she, as she rightly points out, as the woman mentions, the black woman mentions, so you're devaluing me. I have no value because of my husband and his opinions. She's talking about her experience, about her children. And she's, oh, no, that's not important. Because you're on the wrong side. Because you don't believe in the BLM Antifa progressive socialist mantra. Because you don't have that same ideology. So suddenly, she no longer matters. And the video shows it. And rather than admit that, she just walked away. And we see this often. Because often we'll see many of these elected officials, like an elected official that we know, Donna Lopardo. She's assemblywoman in New York State, in my region. And also Mr. Joe Burns, who is a city council member of the city of Binghamton. He's running for mayor of Binghamton. And they're more than happy to support organizations like Truth Farm that propose and present themselves as being innocent. We see this often from the far left. We see this in many of their organizations. If you go to their pages, they're talking about they're born as a result of the opioid epidemic and that they're trying to help people. It's an anti-harm organization. I want to be very clear. These organizations, these far left groups, they always like to say that they're anti-harm. They're just to help people. And they want you to do that by reducing harm, by changing our justice system, by addressing inequalities, which are always racial based, to reduce stigma of any of the groups that they're there to support. Now, I want to be very clear. That's not really saying anything. They're very ambiguous. Change the justice system to what? How do you want to change it? How does that help those with opioid addictions? This is the thing that they say. And here's another group I want to point to. Portland Resistance, otherwise known as PDX Resist on Twitter. What do we see? We see that they have a page. In order to survive a Trump presidency, which has already passed, the rise of white nationalism and widening income inequality, there needs to be a strong resistance. Well, income disparities have been existing since America has existed, since the Industrial Revolution. So that's not really a Trump presidency issue. The rise of white nationalism, wait a minute, before Trump got in, and even after he got in, the KKK, the white nationalists, were at the lowest levels ever. We've had massive advancements in racial interactions in the United States. That's why we have the affirmative action. That's why we elected Barack Obama twice. We've made massive advancements. In fact, right now in Congress, 23% of Congress is made up of minorities. This is incredible. But yet there's inequalities. There's we have to resist. Why resist? And more importantly, resist for what? You're resisting what exactly? And what exactly are you trying to create? These are things that these groups don't tell you. They keep that very quiet because they don't want to admit that what they're looking to do is what they have done in the past. Things that we have noticed, like their fear tactics, their attempts to silence individuals through intimidation, their actions where they destroy property, like in Manhattan. They're willing to go on to the LA Times and news media and hurl racial insults that they would never accept being done to one of their own. And when we look at these groups, and again, I want to speak about Truth Farm here, which is supported by many of the left-leaning elected officials in the region who are not necessarily bad people. I'm not saying Assemblywoman Donald Lepardo is a bad person. I'm not saying that Councilman Joe Burns is a bad person. But they're more than willing to support these far-left organizations who are out there. And what do they really support? Because you can see it in their actions, not in what they say. Well, they push for parole reform. In fact, it was Kamasi Black, who's a community advocate for harm reduction organization Truth Farm, has been incarcerated and said people on parole face many technical rules and conditions that serve as tripwires for recidivism. He says, even if the court ends up dismissing the violation, they're in transition. Even if the court ends up dismissing the violation, that one day or a few days that you spend in jail are enough to lose your job, your housing, the things you need to not only survive. Well, wait a minute. You committed a crime. That's why you were arrested. You committed a crime and you were brought in. Even if the case is dismissed, okay, that may be a little bit different, but let's understand. You committed a crime and you were charged. You were arrested. Yeah, there's a punishment that goes with that, but they would want you to eliminate that. Just ignore the fact that they committed crimes. Ignore the fact that they were arrested. Ignore that they were being punished because, well, that's just not fair. It's not reducing harm. You want to reduce the harm to the criminals, not the public. See, they didn't mention that on their homepage, that they want to reduce the harm to the criminals, to individuals who've committed crimes in their societies, in their communities, and that's okay. And these individuals, we're talking about Kamasi Black, who formerly was known as Bobby Black, who's been convicted. He's been incarcerated. He's no angel by any means. And this individual who is asking for money, he's been out and been an activist for a long time. Back before the transition, when he was known as Bobby Black, he was a member of Citizen Action and a member of BLM, Black Lives Matter. Allegedly a member of ANTIFA in the Southern Tier region. More than happy to protest, more than happy to go out and disrupt the public, even though he's a criminal. Even though he wants to silence those who disagree with him. And let's look back at what's going on in Portland. Portland, this is from April 17th of 2021. Portland protesters light fires, smash downtown windows, police declare a riot. These are the members of the left. And the left-leaning news always identifies them as just members of the left. They won't say Black Lives Matter. They won't say Antifa. They won't say Progressive Leaders of Tomorrow, otherwise known as PLOT or Citizen Action. No. They only identify them by the general moniker of, well, these are left-leaning groups. Well, we see these left-leaning groups and we see what they do on a consistent and repeated basis. We see them make the attacks on individuals. We see them go out into the communities and they attack individuals. We've seen that over and over and over again. Even if the media is denying that to the public, ignoring the access. In fact, this is something that's going on right this minute. Because if we look at August 23rd in Portland, still, ending to go, again, is providing video, and he says, a person at the waterfront ANTIFA autonomous zone, they created another autonomous zone. And remember, every autonomous zone violates every city, every state, and every federal law that exists. They violate the Constitution itself, denying individuals life, liberty, and freedom. This person in the autonomous zone in Portland attacks an individual who's wearing press markings with chemical spray. Let's see that video in its entirety. It's only 30 seconds.
Oh, you're a big boy. Congratulations, dude.
That's the far left. That's the socialists. An individual is photographing them. Now, is he a member of the press? It doesn't really matter. He's an individual who is at a far distance from him, more than arm's reach, at least 6 feet away. He's simply recording what's going on. He's identified himself as press. Whether he is or is not is a secondary question. And because he's there, and because he isn't listening to the demands of the far left, he gets pepper sprayed. Another individual who happens to be videotaping this event, also even further away, who has nothing to do with their conversation, also gets pepper sprayed. Why do we see these things happening? Because the far left demonizes and hates anyone that steps out of line, and in particular those who happen to be people of color. They can't handle it. Any kind of decision that isn't exactly what they have decided is tantamount to violence. It's tantamount to an attack. They find it physically aggressive for someone to say, I don't agree with you, that I have reasons, that I have an opinion, that I stand for certain values. And if those values aren't theirs, well, then you don't count. Just like we saw with the pastor's wife. Oh, she doesn't count. Her opinion doesn't matter. Because, oh, well, your husband has the wrong views. And you're black, so it doesn't matter. Even though we're supposed to support black people, they want to create safe spaces for black people, to have black voices come out, to be heard. And those voices shouldn't be heard when they're not the ones that Antifa and the progressives and the socialists want to be heard. No, then it doesn't matter. Those voices aren't important. That's why they can do what they're doing to Larry Elder right now. That's why we can see the world watch this and be stunned and say, what's going on? Aren't these supposed to be the people who support? Aren't they supposed to be the people who defend people who are black? Shouldn't they be happy that Larry Elder is going into the politics, that he is standing up for his points of view? Shouldn't they want to emphasize that Larry Elder can be heard and that people are encouraged to vote, especially people of color are encouraged to vote and to decide based on the character of the elected official? No, they don't believe in that. They don't think that's important. Because just like we showed you on April 25th, their concern isn't that. They're more than happy to allow teenagers to fight with knives, to stab each other to death. They're more than happy to destroy communities and neighborhoods. Because ultimately, it's about power. It's not about Larry Elder. It's about making sure they maintain power under Gavin Newsom or anyone else. It's about making sure that you don't change your point of view. The danger of Larry Elder isn't his conservative or Republican viewpoints. It's that he's black and he has a different opinion. Same reason why they have an issue with individuals like Herman Cain. It's a reason why they had problems with Ben Carson. It's a reason why Facebook deletes evidence that we presented on their platform live, showing the kind of racial animus that the far left, that BLM, Progressive Leaders of Tomorrow, Citizen Action, progressives and socialists, that they are willing to employ to intimidate the public, to cow you into fear of being able to speak up, to stand up for what you believe in. Larry Elder and black conservatives, black Republicans in general, independents that are black, it doesn't matter. You can be a libertarian and black. If you are speaking up, they hate you. Not because of what you believe, but because you're not doing what you are told. Because they're perfectly fine with you stabbing someone. They're perfectly fine with destroying property, destroying people's lives. What is it? $500 million of damage alone just in the city of Minneapolis. They're perfectly happy with you taking over a community and having an autonomous zone and holding people hostage, destroying buildings, as we saw in Portland, in Seattle, in Austin, even the killing of children in Atlanta. That's all okay, as long as you're doing what you're told, especially if you're black. If you think I'm wrong, if you think I've misunderstood the news, if you think I'm misrepresenting the news reports that we see, please do respond, do comment. Let us know why. Tell me how I am wrong. Tell me how we've seen Antifa, the progressives, the Democratic Socialists. Tell me how you've seen them embrace black people who have a different opinion, those who are on the left, on the right. Show me the video where they have engaged in a discussion of character and the issues. I'm happy to hear that. I want to see that. Please show me how this is something that is ongoing across the United States on a repeated basis over history. I can go back to beyond 2011 and I can show you each and every time that there are individuals who are independent, who are libertarian, who are right-leaning, and they are especially people of color, they are demonized. They use racial slurs against them. They try and drag them down. They try to mock these individuals. If you think I'm misunderstanding that, if I'm missing the news where the left is actually treating people of color with respect, then please show it to me. If these organizations are out there and they're actually supporting issues that benefit the poor, benefit blacks and Hispanics and people of color, then please show me, because I can show you how every one of the cities that defunded the police, that did the reforms that we see that Truth Farm and Kamasi Black have advocated for, have had dramatic increases in crime, in violence, in death and homicides. We can see the property destruction that has happened everywhere that there has been an autonomous zone. But I'm willing to hear, because I'm on the right. I'm a conservative Republican. I'm willing to hear you. And I want to hear what you have to say. And of course, we also invite you every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to join us as we go live on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on DLive, to share an expression of the First Amendment with you from wherever you are in the world. Until then, we thank you and we hope you be well.